but then we stopped. I think we stopped because we felt like there were two reasons. We felt like we were a little bit limited with our target and the way we set it up. So we wanted it to be a little bit more broad because we just set it up as a pharmaceutical, and we wanted to be able to have conversations as these around just cultures, and so we thought that we could go a little bit broad. So secondly, also we wanted to just invest in, because we felt like the quality we were giving out wasn't standard enough. So let's invest in some equipment so that we can be able to to give our.
We can start.
Yeah, we can.
Okay. Action.
Not yet, I think.
You said we can start. Yes, we can start.
I just wanted to find out, in terms of in terms of how I can address you, in terms of you being you are a pastor, of course, and other qualifications as well that I wanted to add on so that I can address you properly.
I think basically it is pastor is enough because it encompasses everything I've been and everything I'm doing. Yeah, but I'm also a radio personality, as you might be aware, and
well, we amplify them.
yes,
Okay.
I'm also a radio personality, a pastor, but I think what else about me is I work around communication. So sometimes it's away from broadcast, it's in the industry of communication. So public relations, writing, editing, communication. I think that's what I would quickly define myself as. Yeah, so I think pastor is enough. Everything else you have to explain. So I communicate how.
This would be a nice podcast. This would be a nice episode. This would be a nice episode.
Communicate, so do you sing? Because it's communication as well.
So you can tell us when we can start. We've already started. Okay. Hi everyone. Welcome to ZamChat podcast. My name is Joe Kanema, aka the podcast junkie. And today we are joined by Pastor Mdoma, also a media personality, so experienced in the media industry. So today we're going to be talking about an interesting topic. We'll be chatting about marriage and everything all around marriage. So Pastor, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you so much, Brother Joe. It's been a while. I didn't know that the next time I'll see you, we'll be seeing each other on set. But it's good to see you, and Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year, and thank you very much for taking space out of your busy schedule to come and chat with us today.
That's right. I'm looking forward.
I think we were chatting earlier, just how you got into media and your interest into the media industry. How did you get into? Because you've been in the industry 20 what years?
It's about actually 20 years of my media industry. 17 were with one organization. The other 3 I was dotted around, training and learning the trade. The first 3 years of my media life, I moved from Radio Mazabuka to the church, to the writing, and until I settled down at Radio Christian Voice, which was home to me for about 16 and a half years, and almost 17 years It was a worthwhile journey.
Well, that's a long time.
Yes.
That's a long time, and it clearly shows that you really love what you do. And the topic that we're going to be talking about today, you are someone who's best fit for this topic, because I think being a pastor, you encompass so many things. And also one thing that is interesting to note is that you counseled me and my then
Pre-marriage. Yeah.
then fiancé pre-marriage, and you are someone who's best fit for this particular conversation that we are about to have. But before we get into that, I also just wanted to understand also how you got into being a pastor as
Okay.
well. Yeah.
So about 2011, 2010, 2011, I went into Bible school. The idea for going into Bible school wasn't really to pastor. The idea was for me to deepen my knowledge, to widen my scope, because remember I had in 2007 I settled down at a Zambia's biggest Christian radio station, Radio Christian Voice, and so my settling down there called for better training in theology, and so that's how I settled down for a Bible school. The intention hadn't been to pastor. Then later in 2017, I decided to further get into a degree and do a master's. But then now my intentions had sort of changed, and I wanted to impact pastors. Somehow my calling became more focused. I decided not to just impact everybody, but to minister to pastors, be in their training sphere, be in their training life. So that became an interest. And so 2019 actually, my bishop called me and said, we have seen something new and we would like to ordain you as a pastor. So I had a 4-year training into being a pastor. Then 2022, yes, I was then ordained. So from 2019 to 2022, it was a lengthy time. There was COVID also in the mix.
Yeah, COVID.
And so 2022, in August of 2022, was finally ordained as a pastor. So I'm a newbie. I'm a novice in pastoral work. But I think the journey has been enriching. I have learned quite a lot. My bishop and my leaders are onward and training. So that's how I ended up being a pastor, and I am an assistant pastor in Bread of Life Church. And in Bread of Life is a zoned church. We love to say it's a cell church, and so I'm in charge together with a superior of mine who I report to. I'm in charge of a zone or a district that we pastor. That means we marry them, we bury them, and we encourage them. And yes, so basically that is my role. Alongside that, I also serve in the Evangelical Fellowship of Zambia as the Missions and Church Relations Manager, a role that I totally love. I've been there for 2 years now, and in which I do that thing I talked about earlier.
Yes.
I pastor pastors. Yes. So I somehow I fit in very well to encourage them on to speak about training, education. Basically, that's my pastoral role. I could go ahead of you and say, do I want to start up my own church? No.
I was about to ask that question.
So, busted.
Wow, that's interesting. By the way, I forgot to mention, we are at Sandy's Creations, right along Kafua Road in Chilanga, right? Sandy's is in Chilanga. It says Chilanga.
It is Chilanga, yes.
Very nice place. If you stay in Lusaka and you've never been to Sandy's Creations, then I don't know what you're waiting for.
Come.
Very nice place, the ambience. So we're just seated out here having this chat. All right, I think let's get into it. I mentioned earlier that you did counsel us pre-marriage. Uh, how did you get into marriage counseling?
So I've been
Yeah.
married 23 years this October and August 29th, rather not October, August 29th. Me and my wife have 3 children in the third year of our marriage. We decided to join a training class. The training class was a marriage class that was at Bread of Life. So we joined it because we wanted to know better what marriage is all about. Now, a little background would be good. I come from a Catholic background. My wife comes from a RCZ, Reformed background. So it's Reformed and Catholic coming together. So when we got married, we said, let's choose neutral ground. Which church are we going to go to? So we did Reformed church for a while, and then we did Catholic for a while, and then we said, friend, where are we going to settle down? And so we kept on, at each other's theology. And when we got to Catholics, say, what about that? What does that mean? What about that? And when we got to RCZ, we say, what about that? We've been standing for a long time. Whoever stands in church for that long. So we've been singing. We're only singing the one language of songs, whether English or whether hymns. So we do that often, but we decided, can we go into a church that we both agree with? So that's how we ended up with Bread of Life Church. When we got to Bread of Life Church, our daughter was 2, and she ran into the children's class. We literally couldn't find her. She found home. So we said, this could be a sign. This is where we belong. So 3 years into our marriage, we decided, let us get to know what marriage looks like from the evangelical point of view, not from the Catholic point of view, which we had learned, we had been counseled into, not from the RCZ point of view, which we learned, which we had been counseled, but let's look at it from the evangelical point of view so that we are both grounded in this training. So we got into that class. That class took about a year or 9 months, if I'm not mistaken. At the end of that year, we now getting into our 4th year of marriage, we decided, why don't we now tell others what we have learned? So we didn't start off as marriage counselors. Me and my wife, sit it down, we are about to counsel you. So we just started telling our friends. I remember went for a birthday party in Nilanda, Lusaka, in the evening. And we were sitting with friends, and we just started talking about what marriage should be like, what it should not be. And the 3, 4, 5 couples that were with us all decided we need counseling. About 3 of them decided, we were never counseled. How can we know this? And we realized we can't, because we have just been married 4 years, but we can take you to where we learned this stuff. They became members of Bread of Life. To cut the long story short, we evangelized to other people through that particular ministry. At the end of that, we decided, look, why can't we learn to be counselors? Now, Bread of Life has a class for marriage counseling. It also has a class for counselors. So counseling general, marriage counseling, both we decided to take 2 years and learn these things, so that then we can become effective counselors generally and marriage counselors. That's the long answer to your very short question, but I think that's basically what happened. It was very fulfilling, and it's a journey that I think we learn every time. When we're counseling, even now, there's stuff that we are learning. We are not at 100%. It's a slow process of learning and sharing and iron sharpening iron.
You said that it's a journey, right? Like what through this journey, what are some of the things that you've learned that have sort of shaped the way you look at life? For instance, as you counsel different people, meeting different cultures, different minds, you counsel different people. What are some of the things that you've like learned along the way that have shaped sort of the way you look at things?
There are very many actually, because like I mentioned, it's a journey. One, and secondly, it's unique. That means when you are counseling couple A, there's stuff that God intends for you to glean as you are sharing your life with the counseling. Now, counseling professionally is not really me telling you what to do. Counseling professionally is me pointing at the door in simple terms. Pointing to you at the door, you make the decision to go into. I just lay the information there and the options. It's not gagging someone into making the decision that they have to make. Now, because of that, our lesson has been the communication to others, has been what is happening to others that we sort of, it didn't happen to us, but it's nearly happening to us, those kind of lessons. So if you are counseling a couple that is on the verge of breakup because they seem not to jail because of work, for example. Let me pick work, for example. And it has not happened to us, but then when it does, when we have that conversation, then we see our own flaws in that. Say, we should do this better, because if we don't, we're likely to fall in the same trap. Remember, I said we're not 100%, because we are not the best people. We are not the sharpest tools in the shade, for lack of a better term. But because of that, then we see our own flaws that we prayerfully work alongside and correct in our lives. I think that's the $1 million benefit, or that's the $1 million lesson in the work of counseling.
The modern man, or maybe let's say the 21st century human being, sort of kind of feels like or thinks that marriage is not important.
Yes.
It's not needed. Why should I get married? Why should I marry? So my question would be, why marriage?
And you are right. Our generation has a stain of the why marriage question. There's one. There's Allow me to comment on that before I answer the why marriage. The why our generation is struggling with that is because we who are married haven't marketed marriage very well. It is like coming to Jesus. If people who are in the Lord fail to live up to be the light and the salt that Jesus said, then the world will not benefit and will see no reason of coming to Jesus. Because if you don't have the salt and light, which Jesus said you should have, then why do I need him? That is how we have failed, we who are married, to show that in fact this is of benefit, this is of the Lord. But why marriage, you ask? One, it is not our own doing. Marriage is not our idea, it's a God idea. It is God who ordained and authored it. It is God who solemnized the first marriage between Adam and Eve. The first time we hear of any two coming together, it is God doing it. And therefore, from that lesson, we quickly pick up that it's a God idea. He would have easily come up and blessed Steve and Steve, but he decided to bless Adam and Eve. And he knew that out of this, generations will come. He knew that out of this, many other individuals like this one will come. And the ultimate benefit of us living here on earth is to be of glory to them, to bring glory to God and to praise Him. Yes, He can have praise from the stones, yes, He can have praise from the trees, but He made you and me in the likeness of Him, so that this person who looks, acts like me can praise Him. And so, why marriage? It is an avenue of doing what God wanted for us to do. It is also an avenue to bring praise and glory to the Lord. It is an avenue that God created Himself to to bring procreation in this world. Without marriage, we wouldn't have had 7 billion people walking all over the world. Those 7 billion have each come because, well, a large percent of them have come because two people came because they needed to create a human being. There are other ways of having children without getting married, but a large percent come under marriage. That's right.
I remember one time somebody was telling me this, say, you know, you go to school to be prepared to maybe be a journalist, for instance, or maybe a doctor, for instance, or a lawyer. But when it comes to marriage, you normally don't go to school for a lengthy period of time,
Yes.
if I may say, to prepare you for marriage. And this is such a big institution, but there's so little in terms of preparation that goes on before somebody gets married.
There's actually a meme around it.
Yeah.
That they give you a certificate.
They give a certificate after.
After the wedding certificate.
Yeah.
But how you give
They
me?
give you before you go into, they give you a certificate. You're not even prepared for
That's
it,
right.
but they give you that. How should a single person prepare themselves for marriage if they want to have like an effective marriage?
A single person can make them ready and prepare themselves for marriage by looking at the author. The only way I will know, for instance, the content of this is by reading the content of the manufacturer of the product. If the manufacturer wanted, they could have made battery water, but I could not use it to quench my thirst. Is battery water water? Yes, but it's not for the sole purpose of quenching the pastor's thirst. But God created you and me. Why don't we look to Him for preparation in what He has created us for? So the best way a single person can prepare for their marriage is to look at the author. Why did you create this? How can I make sure I glorify you by being in marriage? Look at, picture two people. Two couples rather. One couple is married and they're making love or having sex. Another couple is not married and making love or having sex. To the one, it is gross sin and called fornication. To the other one, it's glorifying God. Same act, same human beings, same heart rate. They could even be the same house for crying out loud. But the same act in the one with God in it, it praises God. The same act without God and without the laws of God is fornication and is forbidden. The only way how to prepare, the first way, must I add, is to look at the author. The second is to get around the right company of mentors. There is a young lady that I know of that went really off course because of the mentorship that she had. She believed 1,000 different things about marriage. In fact, from finances to home management, she just went off tangent because the women that she worked with kept on talking about that when you get paid, don't show the money, don't share the money. It's yours. He has to work for it. He has to. The situation just became tense. When she finally really had it and she came open to unbundle that pain that those women had done, those negative mentors had done, it took a long time. It took a lot of pain because by then she had injured the husband, husband had injured her. It took a long time to unbundle that. So the second, have the correct mentorship around you. Gather yourself good, wise counsel. Now, this is true for Christianity, this is true for any religion, this is true even for traditional Africa. Because we in the olden days would gather a shivukonde around yourself to walk with you. It's a pity that these days is not happening very well. The women folk keep on saying, men, you need to be counseled, men, you need to be counseled, because we are being a disappointment in many areas. And so those two things prepare this human being. There could be more other things, but on top of my head right now, that could be a key, a good key to prepare someone to step into a lifelong relationship called marriage.
When it comes to marriage, or rather even just relationships, is love the most important thing that can, for instance, be able to anchor a marriage, for instance? Because I've heard so many different,
views
whether love is the most important thing, or is it understanding, is it knowledge, is it communication? But at the center of that,
which one is the key?
Which one is the key that makes a marriage successful and long lasting?
That's right.
Yeah, because we've seen, like, for instance, even big people, big men of God, for instance, that have divorced, for instance, and then you tend to wonder, because this man was anointed, for instance, an anointed man of God. Is it? But then at the end of the day, you tend to wonder, what is it that can make a marriage last?
In my view, there's no single one key that opens there. There's no one-sided. You can't have love and choose, since I love him, I'll go ahead and just not be communicative. Since communication is the key, then I'll just lose how I respect him. So for me, there's a lot in that same pot. It could be love, it could be respect, it could be communication. There's a lot in there that all work together to form marriage. I'll be careful to add to your question that there are, however, roles. Ephesians, reading chapter 5 going down, tells us that the husband should love. His role is to love.
The
wife's role is to do nothing.
Yeah, that scripture.
Respect.
I mean, you brought up a very nice point. That scripture is one scripture that tends to confuse people so many times, whereby it says, okay, the husband should love the wife, and the wife should submit to the husband,
or respect
the husband. So it brings up so many questions. So maybe just elaborate much on what that scripture says.
It's interesting because I think 3 days ago now, someone asked me the same question. Bishop in Makando, in the crossover message, kind of brushed on it, and so a friend of mine, we have a conversation. They say, "So which one comes first?" You heard Bishop's message. So which one comes first? Is it respect, the husband loving, and then receiving the respect? Which one comes first?
Or the wife? Which
so
one?
to that I said, which one comes first? If you answer me one question, which comes first, the chicken or the egg?
Or the egg.
And they said, but you know that it's an age-old question. None of the above, because it's each one that just happens. I said, say, in marriage, it's not love coming first, then respect coming. No, it is each one doing their role, each one playing their part. My role is to love. Wives, women, generally psychologists tell us, those ones can annoy you with what they say. They can talk. They are blessed with talking. And so out of a multitude of their words, they could injure you. My role is to love that person. Her role is to respect.
Does that mean that a woman isn't supposed to love you?
Well, she is supposed to love you. I'm quoting Bible. You see, love in the woman's world, in the man's world, is respect. When she gives you respect, she has loved you. That's what it means. It's not painted red. Like love is not painted red, but when she honors and respects,
So in short, what you're saying is it can be received love can be perceived in so many ways.
Yes. If somebody is not communicating to you, is that love? We're talking about communication, but is that love if there's no communication? So that's what I'm saying. Not all love is painted red. That scripture we talked about is loaded when it talks about love. What about when you get paid, or you strike gold at your business and then you don't share the money? Is that love? Yeah, but it's money we're talking about. It's nothing to do with love. Yeah, but it's money. Yes, it's not necessarily painted red. It is everything around that department of love. So it can love for others could mean every day I wake up, I make a cup of coffee for my wife so she gets out of bed with zeal. That could all that she'll remember me by. Say, this man, there's no single day he didn't make a cup of coffee for me when he woke up. For him, that's how he showed me. For others, it could be an hourly call. How are you? How was your day? Have you eaten? And for others, that could be it. For others, it could be making sure there's gas in the tank every time when they're starting off for work. Yeah, but for others, that totally doesn't mean anything, because maybe both of them go to work by bus. So fuel in the tank doesn't mean love at all. But for the one that uses a car, that would mean everything. My husband checks my engine every morning. That man loves me. And for the one that uses a bus, that's totally meaningless. I mean, someone's checking you.
So it's because I remember when you were counseling us, there was this book that you shared with me. Where it was talking about the love languages.
5 languages.
Yes. Others, it could be like you're saying, it's communication.
I've shared one too many times.
It could be like you're saying, communication. For some, it's maybe just the positive words that you affirmation that you say. So in short, what you're saying is that love is interpreted in different ways, and it
love
means different
is received in many different ways to many different people. Others is gifts of love. Others is positive affirmation. Others is service. When I don't pull the chair, there's a couple I know whose wife doesn't close the door for herself.
Really?
She sits into the car. He opens the door and then he closes the door and then goes right round and gets into his own car. For us, we are on the go. That means the moment I tweet,
Get in,
get in. But it does not mean when I do it, the wife won't appreciate. She will actually go, wow, what's the occasion? But in another area, she says, well, this is love. Why? Because she needs this love. And so it's different. Love means different things to different couples. They receive it differently. Remember, our psychological makeup is different. Our background is different. And all that contributes to how you and your wife handle things or see love. To another man, respect is cardinal. In fact, when he gets home late and she's sleeping already, that's disrespect. For others, please jump into bed. Don't worry about me. I'm coming. But to others, what kind of disrespect is this? To others, when he starts off from work, that's when she must cook. For others, he does the cooking when he comes home, and she's waiting for him to come and cook. Especially in the dispensation that we live in, we find that love and respect, that portion of scripture, means different things to different people. Because what used to be respect to our fathers, now it's normal. To our fathers, cooking for themselves.
It's unheard of.
How? So to our fathers, kusamsevinga nondo. It's now there's nondos in ShopRite. There's like a whole pack of nondos. Yeah. So which nondo are you talking about? Respect is different in our age. However, allow me to backpedal a little bit. It is what is unique about the couple that matters. The uniqueness of the couple cannot be thrown away. There are some chefs who are men who cook better, even at home, better than their wives. Are you going to tell me that the day that chef husband jumps into the kitchen to make breakfast for the wife, he does not love, or is not being respected by the wife? No, the man loves the kitchen. So respect and love are unique to each couple, and each couple needs to find their golden thread, and their golden thread is unique to that couple. Me and my wife, by the grace of God, have sat down and counseled many. Not one do we refer to the other couple. Not once will you hear say, the temples were seated there and we told them the same. We told them that don't do this, because those ones are different. In fact, we don't even share the story of the others to the others. In fact, we have a promise when a couple sit, that there is nothing that you are sharing now that you hear out there, except you share it yourself. And even when you share it yourself, these days the social media will not join into the saying, hey, we knew. In fact, they came home. At that point.
So, you brought out an interesting point, where you've mentioned that long time ago, men, it's unheard of that they'll step into the kitchen to cook. But now, you may be required to step into the kitchen to cook, especially
many
now.
Times. Because both the work.
Yeah, now the woman is working, you're also working. How do couples effectively maneuver that? Because it is really, something that is causing a lot of tension among married couples nowadays.
Again, I dare say, bring back the issue on love. If I love my wife, bachoka kuchito. I love her. She's my lover. I will not park the car while she also parks her car, and I allow her to go into the kitchen and I go into bed or I go into the chair. I love that person. The best scenario is for both of us to jump there and do the work. If there's no one we are keeping, there's no maid, there's no... What is the problem for me to get in and do the work? Modern marriages, modern parents even go so far as to prepare the young man for that day. That means the young man is taught to wash, to clean, to cook, because we don't know where he's going to land. We don't know where he's going to be. So if I love her, I will do for her to make her life more comfortable. I can count many days that we have jumped out of bed and we switched off the alarm. We got late and the wife has to take off before me. I will remain home and remove the beddings, throw them into the machine, or put new beddings. I have still been a black man at the end of the day.
Nothing has changed.
Nothing has changed. I step into my car driving to work, I check, I'm still a black man.
You've mentioned that the modern counselors are preparing men for situations such as this. Because here I used to think that Vanachimbusa or they need to change their syllabus because the teachings are a little bit old and try to...
In fact, you're right. The teachings are contrary to the circumstance. There was a young lady who I knew, and they didn't come to us for lessons. It's something I picked up on social media. And so I read this sad story about this young lady who I knew, who they decided, look, since I am a woman who works, I will not touch the plates. I will not wash after you. I will not cook after you. In fact, the only time when you're my husband is when we're meeting for sex. I so badly wanted to comment, but I had to restrain myself. I so badly wanted to say, that is why the teaching must be revisited. It must be more godly than not. Was the teaching good? It was by far, it was perfect for that time. But now, we still see that it is more women bent than couple bent. I'll tell you situations. For example, we still see that most of the tribes in Zambia have the Chilanga Molido. Now, with due respect to the Bemba tribe, I'm mentioning it because it has been replicated in many other tribes,
yes,
even if it's very solely for Bembas. Well, it's called many other things in many other tribes. But if I pick that for example, it is being broken down to be able to be a front or an avenue to teach the woman. It is not supposed to be for teaching. That is basically to prepare the man to loose him from any, to make him free, rather. To make him free to enjoy the mother-in-law's cooking and to be able to bath the water of the mother-in-law. That is what that is for. But now you see that it's still very woman-tilted. Now I'm using that as an example of our modern life that has still swayed away from the couple and has concentrated on the woman, binding her further back into roles like the kitchen. Is it good to get food cooked by the madam? Absolutely. I love my wife's cooking. In fact, I think she's about the best cook I ever met. However, it is not in her to cook every day, 365 days. Because she works, she's a professional. Sometimes she carries work home. And when she comes home, she's tired. And so who will cook then? If the lessons the traditional counselor are teaching that you should, that means it's all bent at teaching the woman how to satisfy man.
A man, yes.
Rather than the couple how to satisfy each other. And that's why the modern marriage, I insist, must be very balanced. That means you and I, if we didn't go through some thorough traditional teaching, we must go again. We must feel free to go and consult again. To go and say, how best can I keep this woman? How can I love her? How can I be there for her? It's more than we both go to work. In fact, at the month end, she brings in a whole lot more than I do. In fact, at the month end, we share costs, we share bills. Because she pays for this, I pay for this. We are building together. We are building the farm together. We are doing this together. So it cannot be an unbalanced weight scale, but rather a balanced weight scale where you are as interested as she is. You get prepared as she is, so that the children that you will sire, the progeny that you will sire, will be people that see a balance. Back to your earlier question, they will admire marriage because they would have seen a very balanced life. And believe me, the modernity that we are seeing today, there's worse coming. There's worse coming because my parents, in their age, they were pretty modern. But when we were growing up with, this is old. Now, my kids think we are old. And what we're doing is old. That means there's more modernity coming. How will this marriage impact that modernity that is coming in the future and still be Christian and still be basic?
Yes, I think that's $1 million question. We're talking about, in this modern time where a man and a woman are working and how they can navigate that. To add on top of that, I think you touched on it a little bit on the issue of finances. Nowadays, that most of the women have got good paying jobs, and then you find you are in this marriage, your wife is getting paid 3 or 4 times more than you are getting paid, or you find yourself in a situation where, as a man, you're not working at all. How can such a couple? Because I've seen with my own eyes how such a situation has deteriorated,
Quickly degenerates into
couple.
something.
Yes.
Again, I'll look back at our traditions. Our traditions have weakened the situation, have worsened the situation. In the West, that is not a problem at all. Because in the West, there are stay-home dads. Now, in Africa, stay-home dad is an abomination.
Ni Mario.
Now, again, biblically speaking, the role is mine to make sure that there is something at home. So, the African culture and the Bible are very, very close to each other. That means even if you stay at home, your hands are still with you. You didn't leave your hands in the office. That means when the day that you lose your job, you have not also lost your talent. In fact, I texted that on my status the other day. I posted that on my status. I said, be so good at what you do, that in the day that you don't have a job, your talent cannot be fired. So that's why the African culture and the Bible seem to agree that a man, doing nothing. However, why don't you and I live a life of preparing for that day? That means the day that you start your job, boom, you are preparing for your exit. The day that you start your job, boom, you start making, how can I have finances when I don't have on that day? There are Zambian men who I have met who are in retirement who are doing better than we who are going to work every day. And they are at home. And their retirement benefits and plans and strategy is working for them. Here in Zambia, they are there. What have they done to prepare for the day of their trouble? How come their wife is not calling them names? It's because you and I, as the modern man, have decided to be Marios and say, okay, I don't have, therefore she has. Let's share a 25 pin. And believe me, I told you that they have psychologists say these guys speak more than men. She will call you a Mario, she will call you names, and her friends will say, so she will listen to. So how can we be ready for that day that there is nothing? Finances are a huge issue to couples, to marriage. Big issue. Because we're not in the village. There is no storehouse of grain from last season and storehouse of mshaba for last season for us to tell her iyo midisi iyo naenda nikalete malasha. We are not in the village. Somewhere in town. Just to move from point A to point B, you need fuel. There's that social media meme again. Say, I just closed the gate from my house, I've lost 100 kwacha. In town.
Hey, yeah.
In town. Just reversing from the back, your own house. Zaria end.
You know, it's interesting because I was reading an article, I think should be New York Times or so, where they were talking about, I think they were mentioning that finances are the #1 causes of stress in a marriage. So I thought it was things like infidelity, for instance.
I thought so too. I thought that was the issue yesterday. Infidelity, sex, communication was the issue of yesterday. That they were the #1 causes of divorce. In this age,
Finances.
Why? Because we both work. Where is it? Is it in Japan? I read an article that's why they have relaxed the work conditions for women and men. I think it's Japan. I might be mistaken. We have to do a little bit more research. They claimed that when a couple works, at no time must this woman get more money than him. Why? To try and sort out the problem. I think I must misplace the article. Quite a long article. There were about 10 points on marriage, but that was a key point, that the take home of the wife shouldn't be bigger than the husband.
Is it that ego?
Exactly, the male ego. But however, again, modern day because that is going against the gender protocols. We are trying to have 50% representation of women. So how can you now say no? Was as if all out more than the man because you want to stroke the male ego? Again, that is just wrong. However, I think that country went that way to try and sort out, and they claim actually that the rate of divorce is way low because there are more men earning than women. They claim to score some goals in there, while we are more Western, where we think 50. Let's try to get 50% women, and in fact that's why we have more women earning these days. Because when you went to university, for example, your class they were full of girls, and no doubt, when you look back at your intake when you graduated, those girls are doing really, really well. And what they say about women administrators, that sometimes they are the most fair, they are the most hardworking. So I don't doubt that, because I see my own wife. She's in a managerial position, and when I'm listening to her conversations with her juniors,
You're like,
I'm thinking, because she's really good. She makes split-second decisions. While I would have said, let me get back to you on it, because I'll have a human face around it. She'll cut that decision right quickly and make a good decision for her organization. So women administrators make one of the world's best administrators. I can't even wait for a woman president in Zambia. Maybe it will have
Hope so.
less problems.
Hope so.
I'm sure the ladies are saying, watch this space. Yeah.
So with when you're getting married, they tell you you are not just marrying the person. You are sort of marrying the entire
family.
The entire family. Which, again, some people argue to say you're supposed to marry the person. But when it comes to extended families, it's also another area where couples do have issues. I've seen this most of the times, especially on the woman's side. They tend to complain a lot that the relatives of the man are, being difficult or encroaching in the marriage. I don't know how you've found that, and how can couples be able to handle the extended families, families from the man's side or families from the woman's side, that are trying to come and control the marriage. What's the best way that they can be able to handle that?
I'll answer this in two ways. First of all, I doubt it that it's actually family members from the male side that are bringing in confusion or trying to lord their decisions over. Sometimes it's from the other side. Again, couples are unique, marriages are unique, individuals are unique. So it's not always that is the male side. Sometimes it's the woman's side that decides that we want to tell you what to do. However, in answering the question, in dealing with the extended couple, one, we must always stand the ground for the destiny of the marriage. Where are we going? For example, the extended family wants you to move to Solwezi because it is better. There's a lot of Mudingai in Solwezi land. We prefer that they join us in Solwezi. It is better that you grow your children here. They will speak the language here. Rather than you being in Musaka, they will speak Bemba in Musaka and Chinyanja. We don't want them to speak. So move here. The couple has the right to say no. We want our children to grow up in the city here. Why? Because of the destiny of the marriage. But how do you deal with them when you are giving them finances or when they are asking for something? Be able to have X blessings. X blessings, what do I mean? I mean, my mother-in-law must be able to talk to me rather than talk to the daughter. And the other way around. My mother must be able to ask from her daughter-in-law rather than ask from me. When they do ask from me, I should redirect them to my wife so that they don't have means to load their decisions on me, to load their decisions into the family. They must know that these two are so glued together, we can't take one and give him our decisions. We must be so adamant about our position that they know that this couple is one. They two will be one. That's what the Bible says. So the family must not now pull us under again and say, no, we want you to do this. And then that person now gets confused on what the destiny of the marriage is. remember when you're getting married, there's vision statement. There is mission. What are you on about? When you marry, you sell vision, you cast vision. I want to marry you, and I would like to have 3-4 children or 12 children. But I would like us to move to Australia at some point, because I feel like Australia is where this vision will take. At some point, I'll change from doing this pharmacy work. At some point, I want to become a medical doctor. Your wife who buys into that vision and knows exactly where we're going. We're going to Australia. He's going to stop pharmacy and get into medicine and then become a soldier. That's the vision that you sold. But at what point does the family now have access to that vision that you sold? What is the role of the family then? Because although you marry into a family, you have an individual. It is a little bit like broadcasting. When you are broadcasting, you know it's mass media. This podcast is being viewed by thousands. Yeah, but we're talking to an individual. When we are addressing an individual, but we know it's mass media. And so that's why when we are on TV, on radio, on internet like we are, we're talking to the one person. It's the one person that it's targeted to. Yet the audience is big. Just like marriage. Marriage is that individual. We are one, but in a family. In the whole Mdoma family. The Mdoma family has no right to say, no, you can't move to Australia. No, you can't be at 50, forget ever. No. That's where I want to go. I want to go and start my new life in Australia. That's where I want to do. And the Mdoma the Mdoma family can only but support the vision that I have cast, because these two people have agreed that at some point when our children have gone to school and we are 50, we'll move to Australia. It's our decision. We want to go to Iran. We want to go and stay in Iran. But what is in Iran here? But that's where we want. We want to go and help out making bombs. No, that's what we want. And it is us. And so the couple can make their own decision. Yet they are in the cloud of witnesses who are their family.
How do couples prevent, because the more or the longer that you stay together, you get too familiar with each other, and you tend maybe to start drifting apart. How do couples keep their relationship fresh, if I may be allowed to say, fresh, to keep their relationship as it was even before you got married? How do you maintain that friendship that you had even previously? How do you maintain that freshness of your relationship and love? Yeah, that fire,
That's right.
I
think we must be deliberate. We must do things deliberately. The things that you do when she's your girlfriend, what's wrong with doing them now that she's your wife? I saw one man in my birthdays carry ice cream, corn ice cream. Corn ice cream, I'm taking this corn ice cream. I don't know where that story ended. All I know is I see a guy carrying the corn ice cream in the bus. That was years ago. I don't know how I remembered it just now. I don't know if it landed. I don't know if it got there.
I didn't.
Or maybe Zenda Miangako to listen the Lord. I don't know. What I do know is the intention was $1 million intention. What is wrong with you doing what you were doing when she was your girlfriend? now that she's your wife. And women love care and security. In fact, security is a big thing to women. Why can't I go and we share that same ice cream in the ice cream parlor? Why can't we go and sit down and share? Okay, we've got 25 kwacha. We don't have 50 kwacha to buy 2 ice cream. We have 25 kwacha, so let's go and share the one. So we buy the one and eat it together and walk away happy. What is the problem with doing it now? The coffees, the evening teas, the moving, the walks. Now we are busy. How can one keep the flame burning? By doing the very things that you were doing when you met. Others met fishing, others met in parties, others met on the boat. Why don't we rekindle, redo those things again, just to keep the fire going? Because you agree that we met on the boat in Kariba. So why don't we make it an annual thing? If we can't afford an annual thing, why don't we plan for it and then go every 3 years, every 5 years? We know that it's due for our boat ride where we met. And we can even do, now there's technology, we can even do pictures and show our 2011 pictures, 2015 pictures, and this is where we met, and it just makes sense to come back at it. We're adding to the flame of what brought us together in the first place. The trouble is that couples stop doing those things. Those things become off, and then to her, you have touched where there's security, because that was her security, and now you have touched on the security matter. Now she feels, I think you're doing it with Sandra. You used to do it with me. I think Jane is the one that you now go to the boat. You are from the boat. I think you went with another person. So if you used to go to a specific place with Madame, and you know that she's big on security, why don't you plan it so that you go to this place together? I'll give an example of my own wife. My wife loves fruit. My wife religiously loves fruit. I think that's why she's a little slimmer than myself. She is religious about fruit. So if I am away, I'm in town, and I'm coming back in the evening, driving back, I pitch up with fruit. You should see the smile on her face, because she loves fruit. With that fruit, she can make dried fruit. She can make juice from that. She can blend them together. She loves fruit. She's religious about. My wife is not big on cake. A cake to her is one of those things. Yeah, chocolate, yeah, sometimes, if it's dark chocolate. But those things don't matter as much as this. And before we got married, she used to love fruit then, she loves fruit now. How we keep the fire burning is that even when I'm in Nakonde, I'll bring the fruit of Nakonde all the way down here, 2,000 kilometers away. Why? Because I know what she loves. There's no passion fruit in this season in Musaka, but there's passion fruit in another place. I'll bring it. So this passion fruit from there, because she has smiled because she loves passion fruit. So the things that we used to do before the marriage, let's do them. In fact, let's do them even better, because now we are married and we know you know your friend. I love a good movie. I love documentaries, and so she'd actually save a documentary for me to come and watch. And so when I come home, like, did you watch that documentary about the history of this fight between Israel and Palestine? Did you watch that history? I said, I actually saw it on Netflix. No, but it's on TV right now. And so she'd play. You saved it. I thought it won't play again. So I saved it for you. Here's your dinner, and I'm watching my docus. Why? Because she knows, oh, this guy loves documentaries. This guy loves to watch these things. And 2 days later, after I watched the series, now I'm telling it to her because now she also loves hearing this from me. She will be lazy at watching them, but when I'm telling the story, she says, "There's a way that you tell the story. It's like you were there. It's like you live in Israel." So when I'm now narrating, so this is what happened. Then I take her back to Bible days. Now for me, I was watching something secular, but now I connect it to the Bible, and this is. I love it how you're bringing it, because I knew that you'll have a Bible angle on it. She loves hearing me tell the story. I just gave an example of two of our own story, how we keep the flame burning. She loves fruit. When I come back, I like the fruit, but she also has this guy loves documentaries, so I'll save it for him so he comes and watches it, and now tells me what he has viewed. Keep the fire burning.
Interesting. Bright, how much time do you have? This conversation is so interesting. Perhaps I think we may have part 2 of this one, because marriage is too it's deep, right? It's a deep conversation for us to just have in one.
From one angle.
Yes,
we're just looking at it from scratching the surface. Actually.
So we are what? We are what? This is 15:11. This is 1 hour 10 minutes. 1 hour.
What?
Yeah.
We've been going 1 hour already?
Yeah. Feels like
35 minutes.
Yeah, even less actually. Feels like we'll definitely have a part 2.
Yeah.
Because marriage is so big, it's so broad wide, and so deep that there's so many areas that we need to touch and talk about. And I think we've maybe, like you were saying, looked at it from one angle, but there's so many angles that we need to.
That's right.
Yeah, we need to look at. There's so many. I think even as we were just having the discussion, things just pop up.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I always forget to mention Bright. The guy behind the camera is Bright.
Yeah, I love his addition.
So, yeah, but I don't know if you want to say hi, Bright. No, not today.
the funny addition.
Anyway, as we try to summarize, this conversation, which is so difficult to summarize, how does a couple? I think we've talked about how you can keep the fire burning. So that you prevent, yourselves from drifting apart from each other. If it is possible to drift apart from each other in a couple, how in a marriage, how does it happen in a situation that a couple that was so loving, there was so much in love before they got married, even after they got married, there was so much in love. Along the way, the couple drift so far from each other that
they
can't. Yeah. What do they call it now? Irreconcilable.
Yes, irreconcilable
difference.
Yes.
How? And then, a divorce unfortunately happens. How does a couple get to that level?
There are many things that
maybe top 2, top 3.
Yeah, there are
top
many
3
things that could lead to a couple just not reconciling and opting out. The chief among them is that you stop doing what the vision needed us to do. So when you married her, that's why we call it a manifesto. The manifesto is exactly what the party in government did when they were being voted. They sold us a manifesto. Each party sells us a manifesto. So does a husband. They sell a manifesto. I will. And when the I wills sum up to nothing, we fall short of firing them. We have done it with governments before, and that's what the wife ends up doing. My friend, a pastor friend of mine, calls marriage the people and its government. So when I see him, I always say, government in Bwaja, government in Bwaja, government So it's the people and its government, really. Why? Because we said, I want, and I will, and I will, and I will, and I will. Now, if there's any falling short of the vision that you sold, the person feels cheated and they opt out. Irreconcilable differences. The second is what we discussed a little earlier. When we fail to rekindle where we are, to keep the high. We hit a high note and we fail to keep the high note, to sustain the high note. There is only one way to sustain a high note, even in music. You breathe in. You breathe in so that you sustain the high note. What do you breathe in into that fire so that you sustain that high pitch? You keep on doing those things. And we talked about it a while ago. Many fail to breathe into the marriage so that you sustain the high. You sustain that high pitch, that high note where the marriage and they begin to slide right down, begin to become what the marriage was not. And yes, irreconcilable differences. So yes, there are many reasons why a couple would just slide down and fail to reconcile. The onus, however, is on both. To be able to refuse to go any other place but the marriage and to do everything that is needed to sustain it. I'm reminded of a story in the Bible where the gardener, the owner of the vineyard, comes to the garden and say, you know what, this tree is not doing us any good, cut it down. The gardener or the vine dresser tells the owner and says, give me 2 years, let me dig around it, let me water it, let me give it fertilizer, and then come back. If at that point it doesn't work, then sir, feel free to cut it down. And that's exactly what we must do to each other. When we come to the end of the year, we are tired, the office is demanding, the business is demanding, the children are demanding. We must give each other another time, fertilize, water, prune, and see what we can remove out so that then we flourish in the growth that ensues after that. But that comes from the hard work of tilling the land, putting fertilizer, watering it, and making sure that we come back up in good time. And yes, the parable that Jesus tells, or that saying that Jesus says at that point, he ends it beautifully, because indeed the master comes and finds that there is goodness after coming back. And that's what a marriage is supposed to show. It patiently, we must wait for the master to do a complete work around the life of that person. Work with them to bring them back to the high that I spoke about, and be in them. Maybe something discouraged them. A young person was telling me just yesterday, I said, what do you do in church to this young person? That young person said, I do nothing. I was discouraged because I wanted to become to join the music, but they said I can't sing. I said, who? They said that you can't sing in the praise team, so you decided there's nothing else you can do. What about ushering? What about the camera? What about security? There's many things you can do at church. He says, I didn't think about it like that. That person said a big statement to me. I got discouraged because the director said I can't sing. And this is a good rapper. I said, it's just because in church we don't sing rap music to the Lord. We don't. We sing worship songs. So, but there is a place for rap music in church. There is a place for hip hop in church, but it's not every day. So get back to that director and tell him, my specialty is this. I can do very well in there, but not the singing that you want me to do. And then find your place and go back up again. Application to the marriage. If you find your unique place, strengthen each other. That person could have just been discouraged at some point by someone. Maybe that's why they lagged behind. Don't leave them yet. Don't cast the towel. Don't hang the gloves and throw in the towel yet. Encourage them up so that you are encouraged. So that you wait for them. As you wait for them, something will gel and you come back to that high note that you had lost earlier on. And they themselves will be confirming, if it hadn't been for my wife, I wouldn't have been here. But wouldn't it be nice to actually hear someone say, if it hadn't been for you, I wouldn't have been here, because they were discouraged. And instead of throwing them out, you encourage them to stand. So those two are my are the choice things of why people these days end up out and with irreconcilable differences. But if partners can just be patient with each other, because we are unique, we are God ordained, we are God fashioned, and the enemy, you see, the devil doesn't stand on the side and say, oh, you're now married, Joe, congratulations. No, he doesn't do that. In fact, when you're married, Joe, now I'll bring in another woman who looks beautiful, so that then you can be confused and say, did I marry correctly? Maybe I needed to marry this one. Because what is wrong with this one? She snores. What kind of woman snores? And just snoring becomes a problem. Just common snoring.
Simple
common snoring. There's a problem.
There's too much salt in this
salt.
village. Yeah.
Salt has become a problem. Just the salt. Common salt. In fact, you can joke about that salt instead of making it an issue and opting out. I think basically that is. I've said many, but I think that those are the two things that come to mind. There could be more.
It's interesting. Hey, we can go on and on.
Yes, we can.
Hey, okay. Trying to close this now. Going to
let's have
a part 2.
Close with a promise of part 2.
Yeah, we promise there's going to be a part 2. So there you have it. I was chatting with Pastor Mdoma. I think people will be able to pick something from this conversation, or be able to learn something, be encouraged maybe in some way. And I think that's the message that we try to bring out forth on this podcast, is try to teach, try to bring, to steer a certain conversation that can maybe encourage somebody, teach someone out there. And so there you have it. Let me say it once more. So behind the camera we have the guy behind the camera, Bright. So who's been good, but he doesn't want to come in front. I don't know why today.
Then want the camera.
All right. So
the camera from behind.
From behind. So my name is Joe Kanema, the podcast junkie. With Pastor Mdoma, we're having a chat about marriage. Until next time, bye.
Bye. Awesome.
We can go on and on.
I couldn't actually believe.